The world is not ruled by the kind, the just, or the wise. Look around, and you'll see a far more unsettling truth. The cruel, the cunning, the shameless. They rise, they seize, they dominate. While the rest of us cling to fairness, to decency, to the hope that virtue will be rewarded, they play by a different set of rules, and they win. Why? It's not an accident. It's not a flaw in the system. It's the system itself. History is not a morality tale where goodness prevails. It is a battlefield where power consolidates in the hands of those willing to do what others refuse. The meek do not inherit the earth. They are outmaneuvered, exploited, and left wondering how the worst among us so often end up on top. Consider the tyrant who claws his way to dominance, the manipulator who thrives in the shadows, the demagogue who seduces the masses with lies. They do not succeed in spite of their ruthlessness. They succeed because of it. While the principled hesitate, bound by conscience, the ruthless act. While the empathetic second-guess, the narcissist charges ahead. While the moral seek permission, the immoral take. This is not a cynical observation, it is a brutal fact. And it forces a question so uncomfortable, most refuse to even ask it. What if morality is not a path to power, but an obstacle? Nietzsche saw this with terrifying clarity. He tore apart the comforting delusion that the world operates on fairness, that the good are rewarded and the wicked punished. Instead, he revealed a darker truth. Those who dominate are often the ones who have shed the chains of conventional morality. But this is not just about tyrants and dictators, it's about you. How many times have you held back because it wouldn't be right? How many opportunities slipped away because you were too fair, too considerate, too afraid of being seen as ruthless? Meanwhile, someone with fewer scruples seized what you denied yourself. This is the paradox at the heart of human power dynamics. The rules that make us good often make us weak. And so, we arrive at the great unspoken question, is dominance reserved only for those willing to abandon decency? Or is there another way? One that doesn't require becoming the very thing we despise? The answer lies not in blind imitation of the ruthless, but in understanding the mechanisms of power itself. It demands a reckoning with human nature, with the forces that shape hierarchy, and with the uncomfortable truth that what we call evil is often just effectiveness, unrestrained by conscience. But before we can escape this trap, we must first see it clearly. The dominance of the worst is not an anomaly. It is the inevitable result of a system rigged in their favor. But why? What hidden forces allow the ruthless to thrive while the virtuous falter? The answer lies in the collision between human psychology and the structures of power. Nietzsche's fatal insight, Nietzsche's most dangerous idea, was not that God is dead, but that morality is a fiction imposed by the weak to restrain the strong. He saw that what we call good and evil are not universal truths, but weapons in a silent war for dominance. The good person, humble, self-sacrificing, obedient, is a product of slave morality, a system designed to suppress the natural instincts of strength and ambition. Meanwhile, the evil person, aggressive, cunning, unbound by guilt, operates under master morality, seizing what they desire without apology. And here's the brutal twist. The world rewards the latter, because power does not care about fairness. It cares only about who is willing to take it. The psychology of domination. Carl Jung warned of the shadow, the repressed, darker aspects of human nature that we deny but never truly escape. The worst among us succeed because they embrace their shadow, weaponizing traits the rest of us suppress: shamelessness, aggression, deception. While most people fear being seen as cruel or selfish, the dominant few exploit this fear. They recognize that guilt is a leash, and most people are trained to wear it. Consider, why does the narcissist rise in corporate hierarchies while the diligent worker stagnates? Why does the demagogue sway crowds while the honest speaker is ignored? Why does the manipulator control relationships while the kind-hearted are taken for granted? Because the rules of power are not the rules of morality. The delusion of fairness, we are raised with a lie. That life is just, that virtue is rewarded, that evil is punished. But history mocks this. The Roman emperors did not fall because they were cruel. They fell only when someone crueler replaced them. The modern tyrant is not undone by justice, but by a rival's ambition. Arthur Schopenhauer saw this clearly. The world is hell, and men are both the tormented souls and the devils within it. We cling to the belief that decency will protect us, that playing fair will earn us respect, but the ruthless know better. They understand that respect is not given, it is taken. The fear that fuels submission. Why do the masses so often obey their oppressors? Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Holocaust, observed that the worst regimes thrive, not just because of the cruelty of the few, but the compliance of the many. People submit because they fear chaos more than tyranny. They would rather be ruled by a strong hand than face the terrifying freedom of uncertainty. And so, the ruthless provide an illusion of order, one that benefits them alone. The trap of civilization. Aldous Huxley saw that society does not tame the beast in man, it merely domesticates it. The most dangerous among us learn to wear the mask of civility while operating in the shadows. The good citizen follows laws, respects authority, and seeks approval. The dominant individual uses laws as tools, manipulates authority, and seeks control. And so we arrive at the core of the problem. The system is not broken. It was built this way. But if this is true, if the world truly favors the ruthless, then what is left for those who refuse to become monsters? The answer does not lie in surrender. It lies in awakening to the game being played, and learning to master it without losing oneself. The next revelation is the most dangerous of all. The dominance of the worst is not just a political or social phenomenon. It is a psychological contagion, silently warping behavior, relationships, and even the way we perceive reality. The erosion of trust. When the ruthless rise, suspicion becomes survival. Every interaction turns transactional. Kindness is mistaken for weakness, honesty for naivety. A society that rewards deception forces even the virtuous to wear armor, breeding isolation and paranoia. Jean-Paul Sartre saw this in the gaze of the other. The moment we realize we are being judged, manipulated, or used, we either harden ourselves or become prey. The Stockholm syndrome of the masses. Why do people admire tyrants? Why do abused followers defend their abusers? Because power, once consolidated, rewires perception. The human mind, desperate for stability, rationalizes oppression as strength, cruelty as leadership. History's greatest monsters were not universally hated in their time. They were worshipped, because submission feels safer than rebellion, even when the cost is dignity. The death of authenticity. In a world where manipulation wins, the self fractures. People wear masks. The professional persona, the social facade, the false humility demanded by hierarchies. Carl Jung warned that the more we suppress our true nature to fit in, the more our shadow grows in the dark. And so, the ruthless, who feel no such restraint, prosper, while the authentic self is suffocated under the illusion of meritocracy. We are told that hard work and talent lead to success. But in a system gained by the unscrupulous, merit is just another weapon. The corrupt bureaucrat, the plagiarizing executive, the charismatic fraud. They know that perception trumps reality. Nietzsche called it the will to deception, the understanding that those who control the narrative control the game, the spiritual rot, the final, most insidious consequence, a world that rewards evil erodes the soul. Viktor Frankl wrote that meaning comes from integrity, from standing for something beyond survival. But when survival demands compromise, what remains of the self, this is the silent crisis. Not just that the worst dominate, but that their dominance makes it harder for anyone else to stay human. Yet within this bleakness lies the key to breaking free. The realization that the world favors the ruthless could lead to despair, or to revolution, not a revolution of violence, but of mind, method, and moral defiance, to resist corruption without becoming corrupt, to wield power without being consumed by it. This is the art of the true sovereign. The first law, see the game, but do not become it. Nietzsche's Übermensch does not deny the darkness of human nature, he transcends it. The key is to recognize manipulation, ambition, and power dynamics without internalizing their poison. Observe, but do not imitate. The manipulator relies on predictable victims. Refuse to play your assigned role. Study power like a scientist studies disease. To inoculate, not to infect. The second law: weaponize your virtues. The ruthless discard morality as weakness. But this is their blind spot. Integrity, when conscious and strategic, becomes an unbreakable advantage. Honesty as a blade. The liar expects deception. Radical truth disarms them. Patience as a trap. The impulsive tyrant overextends. The disciplined outlast. Empathy as radar. Understanding motives grants foresight the ruthless lack. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ruled Rome not through cruelty, but through indifference to temptation. A man who could have everything yet wanted nothing. The third law: build unassailable foundations. The dominant prey on dependency. Your defense: autonomy in mind, craft, and spirit. Master a skill no system can take from you. Writing, coding, tradecraft. Cultivate a private philosophy. Stoicism, Buddhism, Nietzscheanism, that makes you immune to manufactured fears. Forge alliances of the capable, not the compliant. The ruthless exploit lone wolves. The fourth law: let them underestimate you. Sun Tzu's razor. Appear weak when you are strong. The arrogant reveal their hand. The strategic let enemies misjudge them. Speak less than necessary. The powerless crave validation. The secure listen. Win through absence. The more others scramble for attention, the more your silence unnerves them. The fifth law: redefine victory. The tyrant's flaw: they need spectators. Break free by making your validation internal. Measure success by freedom, not status. Let them take the throne. You take the high ground. Historical rebels who defied the trapped Socrates drank hemlock rather than betray his teachings. His death made him immortal. Diogenes lived in a barrel to prove luxury was slavery. When Alexander the Great asked what he wanted, he replied, "Stop blocking my sun." Viktor Frankl, in Auschwitz, he realized the last of human freedoms was to choose one's attitude. The final insight: dominance is not about force, it's about self-possession. The ruthless dominate the desperate. Become a man or woman who cannot be bribed, intimidated, or flattered, and you evaporate their power. But this is only preparation. The ultimate truth awaits, one that redefines power itself. The final revelation is this: the worst do not truly dominate, they merely occupy the hollow stage of a play written by fear. Nietzsche's most brutal idea was not that power belongs to the cruel, but that we have misunderstood power entirely. The illusion of control, the tyrant, the manipulator, the demagogue. They are not free, they are slaves to their own hunger, trapped in a cycle of paranoia and escalation. They dominate not because they are strong, but because the world is full of people who believe dominance is strength. True power does not crave submission, it is beyond the need for it. The sovereignty paradox: the Übermensch does not seek to rule others. He rules himself. His rebellion is not against society, but against the lie that external validation defines worth. The tyrant needs followers to feel powerful. The sovereign needs nothing. This is why Diogenes, naked in the streets with a lamp, could mock Alexander the Great. This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote private meditations while ruling an empire. They possessed the one thing the powerful could never take: inner autonomy. The death of the old gods. Modern society worships false idols. The cult of hustle, confusing exhaustion for virtue. The cult of charisma, mistaking performance for substance. The cult of brutality, equating cruelty with strength. Nietzsche warned, whoever fights monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster. But the deeper truth: monsters only exist in the mirrors of those who fear them. The alchemy of true power: transmute pain into, will the ruthless exploit pain? The sovereign uses it as fuel. Transmute chaos into creation where others see disorder, plant a garden. Transmute fear into laughter, the final rebellion. To laugh at the devil's bargain. The last temptation, the final test, is not resisting evil. It's resisting the seduction of believing evil works. The worst appear to dominate because we measure by their metrics, wealth, fame, control, but real power leaves no footprints. Jesus owned nothing, yet empires kneel to his name. Van Gogh sold one painting, now his art is priceless. Kafka burned 90% of his work and still reshaped literature. Legacy belongs to those who were free, not those who were feared. The invitation, the game was rigged from the start, but not in the way you thought. The house always wins. Unless you stop playing, walk out of the casino, build your own table, and when they ask by what authority you act, smile and say, none. That's the point. The final secret is this: the worst only dominate because we still believe in their theater. Nietzsche's most radical insight was not about power, but about the stagecraft of power, the collective hallucination that makes thrones seem solid when they are built on air. The moment you see the strings, the puppets lose their magic. The last illusion to shatter, we imagine the ruthless as titans, but they are addicts. Addicted to adulation, the narcissists strip feed, control, the sociopaths substitute for connection. More, the hollow man's eternal hunger. Their dominance is a prism with golden bars. The antidote, sacred indifference, not resistance, not hatred. The utter dissolution of their importance. When the tyrant demands your fear, give him amusement when the manipulator plays his game. Change the rules when the world rewards shallowness. Dig deeper. The Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, had absolute power, yet his journal obsesses over self-mastery, not domination. The real battle was always internal. The new metrics stopped measuring by bank balances, easily stolen, titles, easily stripped, influence, easily erased. Start measuring by what cannot be taken: your mind, your craft, your defiance, who you become in darkness, when no one applauds, how lightly you hold the game, the freedom to walk away, the invitation to the free. This is not a call to reconquer reality. Build anyway, love anyway, create anyway. Love and have their hollow triumphs. You are playing a different game, one where every authentic act is sabotage against their fake world. Every moment of integrity starves their beast. Every spark of genius proves their kingdom a mirage. The final question: not how do I defeat them, but what magnificent thing will I do with my freedom while they're busy ruling ruins? The curtain falls, the house lights rise, and for the first time, you see the exit door. Walk through.